Got a special guest for you guys today. I got my good friend AJ. What's up, my man?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I can't complain too much. I mean, we just lit up these Patoros, and lo and behold, one of your favorites is one of my favorites.
It is, man. Man, this is a good cigar. Mm-hmm. You know, this is really a good cigar.
Yeah, the only one I don't like about this one is I really like that trick I learned where you can light it with the end of the cedar. Have you done that? Mm-hmm. Oh man, it kind of adds something to it. It's just it's a bold flavor to add in there with a cigar. Yeah. Like especially right out the gate when it's first lighting up, just kind of get that first. Just kind of sets the mood for you, you know.
You know, for a long time I'd always use matches.
Yeah,
that was Then I used the cedar sticks and things of that nature. So yeah, it's a different experience, and if you've never done that, that's like an experience you want to do if you're a true cigar smoker.
Yeah, everybody needs to give that a try if you haven't done it yet. Well, guys, I think we got a pretty interesting show for you today. AJ's one of the most humble, thought-provoking people that I sit around with from time to time up here, even though he stole my Halloween costume. And we like to kick back and, just cut it up. So I'm really looking forward to doing this show with you today, my man.
Well, I think I liked your Halloween costume, too. So, I mean, that was priceless.
Yeah, I really wanted to win that bet. But, maybe next year. We'll see.
Yeah, he could have probably pulled it off. That's a once in a lifetime, and that was a scary moment for me being a Cowboy fan and doing it. So, but Halloween is about scaring people, and that's what I wanted to do. So
yeah, I mean, roll up some Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. I mean, what better way to put it out there real quick? Well, AJ, let's tell everybody a little bit about you and your background. I mean, I know you were born and raised here in Dallas. Tell everybody a bit about your background, where you came from, what you do, stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously I'm from Dallas. Obviously I've lived in Pittsburgh. I've lived in, Atlanta for a few years. Mainly I've kind of been in management, but, that's kind of your day job. But I was a photographer for over 20 years.
Hello.
I got into film. I got in film back in 2010. I did a couple of shows. One was on Time Warner, and it was just a video show. And then I got with another show, the Exchange Talk Show. They were kind of 6 episodes in, and I guess it wasn't going the way that they wanted it to go. And for some strange reason, somebody figured out and was like, I kind of know somebody. So it was kind of word of mouth. And I'd never really done it before, but I kind of had an idea of how I wanted to do it. And so I ended up doing the last 8 episodes, in which it aired on CBS, Channel 21, on Sundays, 11:30, right after Dallas Cowboys Weekly. And everybody was trying to figure out this formula because they were getting people that were watching the show. After so long, Nelson's ratings, they're watching the show. And it's like, that wasn't it. I was like, y'all got a good time slot. Between 11:30 to 12, nobody's changing that channel because the game probably is not coming on to 12, or, if it's a later game. And so we captured a lot of those people. And then 2013, my first movie came out with Snoop Robinson, Deceptions of Love, which at that time, we had Redbox, everybody, it was DVDs and things of that nature, and just 2013 that we were in DVDs, and now we're streaming everything now, and so I got that bug. And here right before COVID, I worked on a couple of movies, but I had one that I worked on with Dana Jackson, a great actress out of Hollywood, and a lot of Hollywood actors and things of that nature. And we had a daytime horror movie called Blood Slop. And again, you can find this on YouTube. Any of this
I don't do horror movies, but I'll take your word for it.
You could do this horror movie.
All right.
How do you do a daytime horror movie?
I don't know, but
exactly.
I don't do horror movies, man. I have an easy stomach, man, and most of the time when I watch a horror movie, I'm sitting there the entire time going, how messed up is the person that created this, and what would they be doing in real life if they didn't have this outlet? Film.
Yeah. So you've never read a Stephen King novel?
No, my dad was obsessed with Stephen King. I've read some of that, like Silence of the Lambs is about as far as I can go as calling something a horror. But that Hills Have Eyes, Saw, stuff like that.
Well, see, that's gore. That's not a scary movie. See, that's gore. To me, scary is the stuff you can't see, like Poltergeist and Amityville Horror, things like that.
But when I was a kid,
me.
I would agree with you, and I don't have a problem watching that. But there was a point where horror crossed over with gore, and it's so hard just to find something that's horror and not just gore and purely on there for the factor of like seeing how far can I push it, how much can I show. And what I really don't like when they did this mixture is there's a lot of things you can imply that you don't have to show.
Right.
Like, I don't want to watch a gruesome rape scene. I don't want to watch, somebody get dismembered. Like, you can imply with sound and an illusion or alluding right up to it and cut away. You don't have to show it. But sometime in the mid-2000s, I feel like everybody just switched, and it was like, how far can we push this? And that's when I said, nope, not watching any more horror. The Last House on the Left was the first one that did it to me. And I'll tell you the closest movie that I still feel like took it too far, and I have to look away at least twice because otherwise I'll get sick, Law Abiding Citizen. I think it is a great movie.
Gerard Butler?
Yes.
Yeah, but there's
movie.
just certain parts where you could imply things without showing as much. And that eats me up. And then, because I'm one of those people that I visualize things too much, and when I get that in my head, I can't unsee that, and it's gonna play in my head.
So you just don't want to see it, basically.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Well, stay away from blood slop. Then I'll tell you that because there is some chopping and things of that nature. So,
I want to see it.
Yeah, you definitely want to. Like I said, you can probably find that on Facebook.
The movie for him then would be The Conjuring. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. That's not like. And a lot of those, like I said, sometimes it just kind of depends on what mood I'm into. Like, sometimes it don't bother me as much, but I'm saying this Rob Zombie stuff and all this other stuff.
So you don't like gory movies?
I don't like the like heavy gore,
Scream and all that. You ain't doing
stuff
that.
like that. Like,
right.
You can imply without showing everything. Like, we all know what's happening. I don't physically need to see that.
So you like demonic movies versus where there's a serial killer or something of that
I wouldn't
nature.
say I like it, but I mean, I like the mystery. I like the criminal stuff. Like, I love watching crime shows and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to be taken back through that because that's my problem. If you show me just enough or tell me the story, like, that's what'll get me too. See, people think I get grossed out by seeing it.
Yeah.
It's the story. So, like, if you start telling me something, I'll relive that in my head. Like, I'll visualize it and then I relive it, and then it's personal. It's like it happened to me, or I witnessed it happen to you. Like, I'm too visual of a person when it comes to that stuff that it eats me up. I can't do it. Can't do it, man. I mean, I tried. Every now and then somebody will be like, "Hey, you really have to watch this," and I'll give it a go. But my wife will be like, "Hey, turn away. You don't want to see this," and I'm like, "Yep, nope."
Does it give you nightmares? Can you not sleep at night?
It doesn't give me nightmares. It's just that I can't quit thinking about it, and I can't quit like reliving that event for a little while and get out of myself. Because I'll give you a perfect example. So when I was in my early 20s, I started dating a girl I knew from high school. We're literally driving eastbound on George Bush, let's just say coming from 75. And once we get on the road, she has this like gnarly scar on her arm. And she just starts telling me about it. And it happened so quickly, I get to where I can't talk. I'll break out in a cold sweat.
Okay.
And I'll probably pass out.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
We literally got to about Preston, and we're coming up on the tollway. And she had told me so much about how she was in this gruesome car wreck, and they had to put plates and screws and stuff in her arm. And she was telling me so much about that night and how it happened. I relived that moment, like visualizing it, and it made me I couldn't talk. I got sweaty, and I literally passed out in my truck driving to 70 miles an hour. And she had to pull my truck over, stop on the brake. Yeah, and she's like, if you didn't come back to in a minute, I was about to call 911.
Wow.
And like as soon as I came to, I was like, yeah, you can't tell me stuff like that because I will. I revisualize that event in my head, and it puts me into shock.
Right. Okay. Well, we're gonna get off the horror movies then. That way
we can talk about the filming of and all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get away from that part of it. So, but I love film.
Yeah.
And I think when I did my first film, it was obviously to get my IMDb credits. And with IMDb, that's basically, you're kind of telling the industry how much they should pay you.
Yeah.
When it comes down to what do you do, and like when I started with that film, I was just doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I probably did that for a couple of days, and then after that, I got into cinematography part of it, and then executive producing and things of that nature. And it was just a bug. I just loved it, And like I said, now, I got a few projects I'm kind of working on. It's going to take a little bit longer, and I'm kind of understanding that. Because this is based off a true story, and so I'm kind of slowly working through that.
Yeah.
But I really think that any movies that we watch, there's some story behind it, right? Whether it's a horror movie, or whatever. The only thing I can kind of I even kind of think that with these superhero action movies now, and that, for the most part, Hollywood, that's all they wanted. You had the Marvel comics and things that came out in horror movies that was making money.
And
so
comedy, like that.
Yeah, you get your comedy, but when you look at that, it's key people in that comedy, right?
Right.
And so they're, you're kind of leaning towards what does Hollywood really want, and you're trying to give them that versus being artistic and saying this is the type of movie I want to put out. And sometimes that may be something you're doing independently now, which is, weird in itself. So
yeah, I want to go back and see that because you and I talked a lot last time you and I sat down and spoke about photography. We both kind of came from a background of where we loved photography. I mean, I used to take trips just for photography and playing around with the camera. And the old school where you developed your own film.
Yep.
You played around with your aperture and your lighting and all that stuff and just had fun with it. And I think that's really... I would love to see, because I've seen a lot of your photographs, and I follow you on, Instagram and everything else.
Okay.
And you have this, I call it like the true detective eye, like, and it's like setting stuff back. Like you take the camera, and even though you could be shooting with your iPhone, it almost has that like 70s like lighting and vibe to like open it up and make it feel like a really old school photo, but it's not.
Right.
AJ, what's your Instagram?
It's Junior Soul Train.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much everything with me. And I think that's probably the biggest thing because I came from, again, I didn't go to any kind of schooling for photography. I've been shooting since I was like 17 years old. And so when you're doing film, and you're 17, you really don't have money or anything like that. And so I had a notebook. We talked about this. I had a notebook, and every time I would shoot something, I would write it down. And then once I got the film developed, then I would look at it and, okay, this is the best. And so over time, that's how I ended up developing my craft. You know?
Was it overcast? What time of day was it? What was the weather like?
Where's the sun sitting at? Which end of was there a shadow right here and things of that nature? And I used that because, again, I didn't have lights and things of that nature. May have had a flash, but then
you didn't have all these portable things that everybody has that, you're able to.
I mean, the sun is your best light anyway, So if you can kind of get that, and then that you start learning that the sun's going to move on you. It's going to shift. So you need to try to get that perfect shot right then and there, And so I just kind of learned just to go ahead and just, hey, I got to take this, and being as quick as I possibly can with it. And I've always liked that old feel. That was...
I loved shooting in black and white.
I have one on my Instagram that I did, and I obviously I did it with the effects in Photoshop, but the picture has a whole bunch of Polaroids. And so that was my biggest thing was how can I be artistic with this, and make it kind of stand out and try to be different from everybody else, because you're always going to be looking at somebody and going, oh, wow, I like that. How can I recreate that? And then you're trying to figure out your own style of how can I make this my own style, and that was always the fun part about, doing different things. It's hard to tell a model to pose if you don't know how to pose. You know, so I'd spend a lot of time, you know, in the mirror and just kind of watching where I wanted the hands to be. And I'm doing this myself, obviously. I don't want to be, you know, in public. And they're like, what's wrong with this dude right here?
This guy's got something wrong with him.
Yeah, something's wrong with him, you know, yes. But it's kind of funny sometimes because when I'm educating people, you know, and they're like, hey, I got somebody, I'm doing something. And then I'm trying to give them just the little basic poses and stuff. And it's like that goes a long way with, you know, what they're doing. And I'm like, I can't be there with you, but if you do this, I guarantee you that at least some of your shots are going to be pretty good and things of that nature. But yeah, that's it. That is fun. You know, if you're ever on my Twitter, you know, my handle always says, you know, I capture the world through a lens, and that's it. So I'm always looking, even from cigars. I probably got more cigar, you know, photos than anything, but then it's like I'm trying to be artistic when I actually take the picture, which is, you know, one of those weird things because I just don't want it to look like a, you know, just a regular cigar like everybody else. I want to tell the story of that cigar and what's going on in that moment. And that's probably the beauty of photography with me. And just, I just want to tell a story and I want you to be able to see that story. You know, and then I want to bring out the best in, especially if I'm doing a model or something, you know, or a kid, I want to bring out the best in that, you know. And like I said, I retired from it. I think I lost a little bit of it, you know, and sometimes that can happen.
It's where it was just work and wasn't fun.
You know, and how do you know, rekindle that, you know, and you know, the photography on the cigars now kind of makes it that, okay, if you're going to have a selfie, what is that selfie going to look like? You know, one of my biggest things is anytime that I'm sitting here and I got a cigar, I never look head on at the camera, you know, and if you look at any of our pictures, it's like, okay, he's got a selfie and I'm looking to the sky, you know, and it's just like, I want you to capture and understand that that's something totally different.
And I'm going to give you all a little secret too. He likes to hide things in his photography. Like if you look at some of his stuff, like he's got this dope shot with the cigar and the alcohol and the bottle in the background, but he's now strategically placed, like we'll just use this bottle example, and you see like I've kind of got a logo here, this one's too light, but he'll put it behind the bottle, and if you look close to the picture, you see that like through the bottle. Like we were talking about that picture you took just recently the other day. And I think little nuances like that are really cool. Yeah, because it adds to it. It's like you are being creative and doing something a little bit different than just taking a selfie. You know, like you said.
I want it to always be something different, or I want you to be able to sit back and say, okay, he took that shot. You know, and that's different. And I don't want to really too much imitate anybody else, but I think we all imitate somewhere, whether it's, you know, watching some television show or, you know,
what you're inspired by,
anything, you know, and it's just making it creative to where that was good, but if I was there, how would I have actually done that and put a little spin on it, you know? How would you make it, you know, my biggest thing is, and I think we talked about that was, you know, when I got over into the digital world, you know, the digital world, you see everything right then and there. So you're taking 1,000 pictures, right? So I had to learn and change and said, okay, I'm going to go shoot something. So my SD card or compact flash, I'm going to get the smallest one I can because it's only going to give me so much on there. So every shot's got to be perfect. And I continue to try to do that, you know, even with my phone.
To train yourself.
Yes, is that I want to get that perfect shot. So if I only can shoot 100 shots at a wedding, man, those got to be the best shots that you get because that's it. Now, I'll have backup, but I'm trying to capture everything for them. But then I'm also trying to put myself on the other side with them of what they want to see when they look back at those pictures. And I'm trying to get them to see, you know, like, you know, with a wedding, you can recreate that first kiss, but when you really get that first kiss, that's like priceless because that the emotions in that is just something totally different. Yeah, you know. So I try to do that with everything, even with cigars. That first puff, you know, is like, oh, this is totally good. But I want a little bit of that ash on there now just because I want you to know that this is actually a good stick, you know. and this is why you should be smoking it. And you'd be like, I think I want that. Just because he had it and he looked like he was enjoying himself with it and just not smoking anything, you know?
For sure. I think that's great advice for young photographers or people trying to like better their craft. We'll be interested to get business thoughts in a second on this, but like I was going to bring that up a minute ago when you said that, because I thought that was great advice where, you know, just because you have an SD card that holds, you know, 1,000 pictures in 4K or whatever doesn't mean that you need to take 1,000 pictures. But if you're used to having that all the time, you're just going to snap away, and you might be missing an opportunity to really focus yourself in and narrow down on what you really are trying to capture. To whereas, like you said, if you turn around and now you can only, instead of 1,000 pictures, you only have 100 pictures, you're not going to just be trigger happy with that camera. You're going to take one, analyze it, and go, all right, what do I really need here? What am I missing? What do I got to tweak? What do I have to wait for the sun to do, or the shadows to do, or whatever in that picture that you're wanting to alter? And it helps you zone in on your craft.
Yeah, and that's probably the best part of that. I know Busy has been doing photography and things of that nature, and I've seen some of his work, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is you know, really good, you know, and it looks like you're trying to tell a story. You know, it's like I look at, you know, your profile picture on your page, and I'm like, the darkness on the side, and you're just focusing those eyes right there on it. It's like, that's priceless. But a lot of people that don't, you know, shoot, they wouldn't understand that.
Yeah, and then your asshole friends just say you went and had glamour shots done or something, want to mess with you, and I'm like, y'all are a bunch of haters, man. Like, just because I got this cool pic because my boy's a photographer and I was doing this thing for them, I don't care. But you know,
but you know what,
it's artists, you know, and that's me, and that's about what you would see if I was just up here chilling, kicked back. So,
but your friends, you know, and us as men, they want us to, you know, we're always rough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing
and
about
be self-conscious.
We got to be hard all the time, you know, and we can't look soft or anything, you know, or are you looking good, you know, and maybe ask your friends that what did it look good to you or something, you know, and they won't sit there and acknowledge that, but they're like, man, I wish I could really have that same picture, but they don't know how to ask, you know, because that's different. Men don't ask that question of, you know, how'd you take that, and you know, things of that nature. So
that's one thing I'm going to dive into with you, because as one of my friends, like that's something I think is really cool about you. And I heard you telling this story to somebody else about how bad COVID affected you personally, and that it kind of changed your outlook on things. And I think you are a person that is always you, and you put that out there, and you truly don't give a shit what other people think. And you're going to be you, and you value that above anything else. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit, because I know that was a life-altering experience to you, where you kind of like, you know, hey, this is one life to live, and I'm going to be me.
I think when COVID hit, I was always scared, right, of getting COVID, just because I'm diabetic, and I was like, you know, I heard all the stories of, you know, if you have anything going on, when it hits you, it's going to hit you. And so I got through 14 months of not catching it, and then when I caught it real bad, and it did scare me, right? And I think there's two people got me through this. One was the respiratory therapist that came in, and she was like, I think her bedside manner was probably the best and worst that I could ever see, you know, because she walked in, and I'm on the oxygen, and she goes, you need to get off that oxygen. You need to get off the oxygen quick. If you don't get off the oxygen quick, it ain't gonna end well. And did just like that and walked out the door. And so I'm sitting there, you know, I'm like, oh man, she's just serious about it. And when they had me over in the COVID ward, you know, different room from when I first went in there, you know, everything is in styrofoam, you know, they didn't even have a clock up there. It was just like, they were like, you don't need to worry about time because it's over with. And this lady walked in, and everybody that came into the room probably was in there less than 5 minutes because they were just checking things, giving me medicine, back out. This lady came in and she was cleaning the room. She must have stayed in there probably about 30 minutes. And I, to this day, don't know her name, you know. But then when she came in and she was cleaning and she was just walking around and she wasn't in a hurry or anything. And I'm like, you do know I got COVID, right? Because I'd already made a video for my family. You know, it was like I went, you know, live on Facebook, and I was like, I made my peace with the world that, you know, this is it and this is what's going to take me out. And she was just like, it doesn't matter. She was like, my God got me and he got you too. And so I'm sitting up here and I'm teary-eyed, right? Because I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what? You know, and she said, I tell you what, she said, you be Superman and I'll be Wonder Woman. And he said, we'll get through this. And I never saw her again. And so to me, I felt like I was entertaining an angel, right? I just really did. And so it just changed me to a point where I was just like, nothing really matters. And what ended up happening was I took the oxygen off to go to the restroom, you know, and when I went to the restroom, and I was so tired and drugged out of it, I came back and I forgot to put the oxygen back on. And so I fell back to sleep. And so when the doctor came in, he was just like, well, you know, maybe you're good enough to go home, you know, if you want to go home and if that's where, you know, you're in, at least you're at home. And I got through it. But during that time of being isolated in my bedroom, you know, I did more reflecting on, you know, does it really matter? You know, whatever you're sitting here, and I always say this now, it's like no drama. That's my thing. I don't care what it is, because most drama, whether it's an argument with your wife or girlfriend or anything like that, it's always miscommunication. All right, that you said something that they didn't agree upon, and vice versa, and things of that nature. So then I just got to a point where I was just like, nothing really matters. You know, how about I just love the way I should have been, not mad at the world about anything and things of that nature. And I don't know if I would have been in that state if I didn't have COVID and have it as bad as I did. And I had people calling me and were like, you'll get through this. And that was probably the biggest thing. And then one of my mentors, he was going through it, and I got to a point to where he went through it for 6 months and he didn't make it through. And so now I am kind of on the tail end of getting through this, and like, could y'all please hold the funeral because I need to be there and things of that nature. Yeah. But that just opened up everything to me, is that at any given moment, you know, it could end. And I know we know this, but at any given moment, it could be over with. And I was just like, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is. And like I don't know if I told you, like my job, but every Friday I smoke a cigar. And if they need me to remember something, they say write it down. Because now I treat my brain like a hard drive. And whatever happened Monday, I probably couldn't tell you about it because it didn't matter to me. And so why am I going to harp on it like we normally do? We keep reflecting back on it. And there's nothing you can do to change it. If it was something that you needed to change on yourself, that's a different story. You know, and you need to be a better person for something you did. Yes, take that knowledge and move on, but don't keep hanging on to something that is out of your control, and it's in the past as well too. You know, apply whatever you learn to the present and that next day and moving forward, but don't sit there and just continue to harp on something. And I think COVID did that for me, is that it just changed me to where it doesn't really matter, you know. If I walked in here...
And it taught you what does matter to you.
It does. But I also know people. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've always done, is I know people. If I walked in here and you were busy and I'm trying to speak to you and you never said anything to me, you probably had a bad day. I can't take that personal, right? Because we all have those days, you know. Right. You know, so it's like it wasn't intended towards me, you know. And I feel like if I did do anything that ticked you off, you'd probably come to me, and say, hey, I don't
Yeah.
appreciate this, and I respect that. And I hope a lot of people actually start doing that, is that, maybe I read this wrong. Maybe I read you wrong. Maybe you didn't hear me when I spoke to you, or maybe you didn't
I'm
want
guilty
to.
of that a lot. I don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
Because once I have a hard time of once there is confrontation, I want to end it right then and there. And that's not always good. And I had to learn that with my wife. If my wife and I have an issue, she needs to sleep on it. She needs to really think about it, process it, and talk about it the next day. Well, I was the one that was like, no, we ain't going to bed mad. We need to solve this right now.
Right.
Well, that don't work when people are different. And until I learned that, those were a lot harder conversations. And I think there's so much in the world today where people don't want to have a tough conversation.
Right.
And it's probably because they don't want the confrontation, or it's a tough conversation with somebody that's maybe not very open-minded, or that, they don't want to hear you out. And that's something else to consider, that I've thought about a lot lately, that might not be the friend you thought it was if you can't have that tough conversation.
Right.
And maybe it's a different scenario than what you actually thought it was if you can't have that tough conversation, because there's a lot of avoidance of tough conversations. And then, there's the whole other thing of the media, and portraying certain stories or portraying a certain narrative that I think gets so much stuff just caught up in this one thing that people don't get past that. Like you said, you got to figure out what is important to you. Right. And really what you and let go of things and not be stuck on the day before, so that you can continue to grow and move forward.
I think it's changing our mindset too, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of our conversations and things of that nature, I think, social media and what other people are doing, obviously, why does it have to be a tough conversation versus being a conversation?
Yeah.
So that's just our mindset, right? Oh, this is going to be a tough. Why would it have to be a tough conversation?
Yeah.
You felt like you needed to approach me differently because of the state of the conversation,
or because you thought we were going to disagree,
right? But we're good all the time. Like you say with your wife, it's like you know that you're good. So how do you present it? Oh man, this is going to be a tough conversation because I don't know how she's going to take this or what. So when we start changing our mindset to sit back and say it's a conversation, it may be a little bit more of a serious conversation than the conversation I had about what do you want to eat, but this is a little bit more of a serious conversation than just saying I'm about to have a tough conversation. Because right off the bat, you've already sit there and said, this conversation right here is going to probably either go this way or that way. But if we have the positive intent to say, I'm going to have a conversation and I'm okay with the outcome, because again, we're all individuals, right? So that's the thing about it is that, that conversation again is your mindset and what you believe, and my mindset and what I believe. And you're hoping that you come to a common ground with that. But if you started with, man, this is going to be tough, then you've already set the stage for it, and you're already prepared. You're on the defensive already because you already know that this is going to be tough, and I know how they're going to respond to it. Versus if they did respond that way, you don't necessarily have to respond back. One of the things that I teach with and I'm in management, and so when I'm educating people, it's always the same way. Just because you approach me with this, I don't have to come back with you the same way, right? It's easy to say, Garrett, can we stop this conversation for a second? Because I know you think that you're giving it to me well, but I'm not receiving it well. So can we kind of back this up just for a second and let's get these thoughts together and can we start it over? Because I'm taking it totally different than you probably intended for me to take it. And so that's our mindset is that, man, I'm about to go have this conversation with them. It's going to be a tough conversation. I already know I'm ready to fight, but when you walk up and if your fists are sitting up and you're already ready for the confrontation because every time I say something to them, I already know the outcome of it. Well, that's not fair on the person.
Yeah.
That's really not fair on the person because you're automatically assuming that they can't change because you know that they're going to be a certain way when you see them. And even so, dive deep into why that they're that way. You know, that's the biggest part of it, is that we don't understand how some people can, you know, you're around and they just don't want to talk. Well, there was something there that got them to that point, you know, because we all were kids, right? And we were all, as a kid, were all empty. And so everything that we got put into a jar was, whether it was the life experiences or people that we were around or something of that nature, that helped us form the opinions and things that, you know, and what we do now. But then I can't have the same mindset as when I was 20. Now that, you know, I'm a few weeks away from being 2 nickels, you know, I can't, you know, because that wisdom should be there to know that obviously I am a different person. And so I will approach situations different. You know, I'm not putting myself in situations the way I probably would have when I was younger. And so but that mindset is, how do we change that mindset? And I always encourage myself and others, try to be better than you were, you know, just the last hour. How can you be better than that? We don't talk about yesterday and last week like we always say. You know, can I be better than I was 5 minutes ago? The one thing I can't do is sit back and say that I'm like the best of the best, you know, that I can't do that. But if I caught somebody in your past that you may have wronged and things of that nature, that doesn't matter to me. You know, all I know is from the day that I met you and moving forward from that, whatever happened in that past, that was in the past, you know, because you could have changed from that situation. I can't make my relationship or have my relationship with you based off of something I didn't see or experience. And I think we're so big on that, you know, and with family is probably the biggest thing, because family's always known you since you were little and things of that nature. And they turn around and it's like anything that you do, they remember how you were. And so you never really change, because in the back of their mind, they're always going to be thinking, oh yeah, he's just, you know, he's got this
how he is.
Facade on himself, and he's a little bit different, but wait, it's going to truly come out, you know. And now I'm just like, don't do that, you know, because again, I don't know if I'll see you tomorrow. So what's that experience like? You know, did I have a good time, or did you leave mad at me for whatever reason it may be? You know, and if you did, I'm mad at myself because I put you in that situation, because I'd rather for you to tell me something in the moment. You know, like I always tell people, don't ever lie. You know, that's just don't lie to them. Tell them the truth, even if it's gonna hurt them. Why you look in this dress? You're fat in that dress. You know, I know where it's gonna happen, but you at least want to tell them. I want to tell you the truth on it, because I don't ever want to get to a point to where you're trying to figure out, why did I have to lie to you? Because there's something right there that's wrong. Now, I'm not hurting your feelings or anything, but don't lie to you about it, you know. And I ain't got to sit there and say, you know, you look fat, you know, but maybe that color's just not the right color for you on this, or what are you trying to get out of the outfit that you're putting on, and, you know, how are you trying to look? And, you know, if you think you're looking good in there, it doesn't matter what I say about it.
Yeah, man, that's deep. That's some good knowledge and advice right there for everybody. It's something everybody needs to work on. I mean, myself, you had my brain just turning over that since you started that. I mean, that's why I love having these conversations with you.
If you notice, I ain't had to say nothing.
Yeah,
I'm sitting up here like,
you're on silent mode over there.
I normally talk, but when the message is good, you remember E.F. Hutton?
Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody listens. You know, and I'm not E.F. Hutton. I pretty much, I'm just like everybody else. There's no different, right? I get up, I go to work every day. I got the same struggles as everybody else. You know, there's always some form of a problem out there that I got to resolve, you know, or whatever it may be. But I can dictate my mood when I'm around other people. You know, one of the biggest things that I do, and I was talking about this at work, is that I've kind of made my place a smart place. So when I pull into the garage, music automatically starts playing, and it's just smooth jazz playing in the house. So if I've had a bad day, as soon as I walk in the door, my place is saying, hey, don't bring that in here. This is a different mood. And I've kind of learned over time that, okay, now I need to just get back to where I need to be, you know. And I even do it with driving. You know, if I've had a bad day at work, I'll sit out there and just get that scream before I pull off. Because I don't want my, you know, get into some traffic and things of this nature. But I had to learn that, you know, and I thank God that I actually learned it, because that was probably the biggest thing. But I had to have COVID and understand what life is really about and how much I just truly appreciate it, you know, and no matter what happens in life, it's really not that serious. You know, you can overcome just about anything. And I always want to try to give that message to everybody. You know, my mentor, he turned around and he always said, you know, inspired people inspire people, you know, but then he'd also say hurt people hurt people. And I never really understood it until he passed while I was going through COVID. And I was like, man, there was so much that I wanted to say to him, to just say, hey, thank you, you know, appreciate it, or just say hi, you know, and it's something we don't do. You know, it's one thing I love about here is that everybody walks around and they speak to everybody, you know, whether that's coming or going.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do they do that at? And it's genuine.
Yeah, if you don't, and if somebody doesn't do that, like, they're usually not around here very long, or you might see it's their first time, and they might just be uncomfortable. But everybody quickly lets them know that's just how things are done around here.
Yeah, I'm quick to look for the ones that are kind of out of place. Because I don't want you to be out of place. You know, I want you to come in and just be like, man, this is a good spot for me to be, and kind of understand. And being honest, there's a ton of us men here, right? This is a good spot. And I always say about cigars is that we can come in here and, you know, it's hard to be a man, right? You can't get sick. You know, you got to be the breadwinner. You got to do all of these things. They look up. You can't be weak, you know, or anything. But then when you come in here, you can look at somebody and you never have to talk. You just nod your head at each other. That's good enough. I understand. You don't have to tell about what happened. I understand. I've probably been through that situation before. Yeah. And you lift that cigar up and just, here's to you.
I could not agree with that more. Like, I've said this many times. What the Frakes family has created here is an absolute, like, oasis for family relationships, you know, environment, just, I mean, everything to either come and embrace that with everybody that's in that same mode as you, and even the others that are going through some stuff like you said that you've probably gone through or whatnot. And I mean, you can tell, I mean, there's certain people, you know, the ones that stand out are the ones that, like, you know, certain people that, like, never buy in, and, you know, like I said, you don't see them around very long, but, you know, they never say hi to anybody, and they just do their thing and whatnot. I mean, okay, fine, if that's your MO, that's your MO, but everybody else that's doing that, I mean, you can tell, like, certain people, that they're having their day, like you said, it's just, hey, man, yep, good, all right, he's not that talkative today, all right, let him do his thing, let him enjoy his 2 hours of sitting there smoking a cigar, and let him process that, because everybody needs time to do that. And a cigar, in the weirdest way, lets you do that, especially when they've created an environment that truly embraces letting each person enjoy their cigar the way they want to enjoy it.
You know, and sometimes with those individuals, you know, I get into, why are they even smoking, right? Yeah. You know, because sometimes I feel like now it's a fad for a lot of people, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, everybody is smoking, kind of the same way we're growing a beard. You know, everybody started growing beards and stuff, you know, and it's like, okay, that's the fad that, you know, everybody's doing, and I want to be a part of it, you know, but then it's like, why are you really smoking the cigar? What is your purpose behind it? You know, mine is to unwind. I mean, I'm more relaxed when I'm smoking a stick, you know, I really am. And then when I'm around good people, all right? Yeah. And the stick tells me everybody's good. It might be some bad ones in there, but the sticks told me everybody is good until they show me something different. But then I'm on that mission of, okay, well, why are you a little bit different? Maybe we need to figure that part of it out. You know, I wouldn't want them to leave. You know, when I know that there's probably something wrong with them, to sit back and say, hey, you know, if it's a fad, good for you. You know, go on. But if it's something that you really want to do, come on in and get educated. You know, come and sit next to somebody. Find out what's their favorite stick. Why is their favorite stick and things of that nature, you know. And why do you really want to smoke, you know? Mine was, I had an uncle that, he smoked. That's all I ever knew from being a kid, you know, until the time he passed. And I had another uncle that, you know, we had the same birthday, and that's where I got my pipes from and smoking the pipes and things. But they always seemed to be happy every time I seen them, and they had that stick in their hand or in their mouth or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe the stick is doing it. Not the fact that they just come around and, you know, and they want to be smiling or whatever. But I equated it to being, it had to be the stick that did it, you know?
That's awesome.
I've been reading a book about vibrations, positive mindset, things like that. And the book stated, Michael Lito turned me on to this book last week after we got done with, hold on, I'll tell you right now. Let me tell you right now. That book is called Vibrate Higher Daily. So it gives you different things that when you get in a certain funk, a certain mood, anything that happens, list 5 to 10 things that automatically change yourself to a positive vibration. So I said, cigar, always having a stick does it. Drawing, creating a good old school movie, and I mean like Indiana Jones or something like that. So this weekend I was working in New Orleans, and it was just like ruckus. I'm shooting all the Bacchus balls, Zulu balls, all this craziness, and I didn't get one chance to smoke a cigar until Sunday. And I went down into the French Quarter, found a little shop, had some coffee, and when I lit that cigar, when I say everything got right, everything got right. And I was like, man, and it's not like a crackhead feeling where I'm feeling, because I went 4 days without smoking a cigar. Wasn't no big deal because I was busy. But once I got a chance to sit, smoke, relax, people watch, had this thing called beignets. You ever had a beignet?
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. I never had one. Ooh. I never had one until Sunday.
Beignet, okay.
I'm diabetic, too. I had to pull myself away. It was like, oh, man, I'm going to go into a coma out here.
I thought you were going to go into oyster coma is what I thought you were going to go and watch, and you eat all them damn oysters.
I think I had 6 dozen oysters over the weekend.
Wow.
But
minimum.
Yeah, minimum. I'm sweating right now. You said it. But the vibrations, everything, the moons, the stars, everything on the line. And after I finished that cigar, man, the rest of the day was cake. And like literally, this is my first one since that one on Sunday. Well, second one. Since on Sunday, I'm cool.
Yeah.
It's just certain things put you you can drink good liquor and not drink it to get drunk. It is something that's a zen. You know, it's everybody has their vices for destruction, but then there's also vices for enlightenment or peace.
Or just to take you to a different place. It doesn't have to be, like you said, getting wasted. I mean, people overindulge in all kinds of things, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, nicotine, you know, you name it. But there is also a healthy way to enjoy those things to help take you to a place too.
I agree with you on that.
What's a day in your life like? Are you a very regimented person? You've said a few things that you do regularly to unwind or to leave work at work or to set your mood and tone. But is your whole day like that? Or are you more open, fly by night? Because like me personally, I schedule my day. And I've just got back into the gym and working out, trying to get myself in some better shape. And I've already seen, once I got my sleep schedule back on track, and now I'm up at 5 a.m. again every day. I hit the gym, get that workout in, whether it's a good workout, a bad workout, I'm just getting it in. And then go home, shower, get ready for work, take a few minutes, make my coffee, have a little breakfast, write in my journal for a little bit, and then I, work from 8 to 5, get my work schedule in, and then, go from there. Are you a very scheduled person or non-scheduled, or are there certain things you do to make sure that you put yourself in these positions and mood and mind frame each day?
I won't say that it's scheduled, but I do have to have some things in order. Things can't be out of order in my house, whether that's a dish in the sink or, if I see a little bit of dust, I'm over there vacuuming and things of that nature. But that mindset comes from when I was growing up of always take care of your stuff. It's like I can't understand how some people is like, oh, you broke that. Oh, just go buy another one. Well, that defeats the purpose of it. It's not yours then. So I take everything and it's like I have to do that. But I'm up at 5 every morning, and I do have a sleep schedule. I use my phone, immensely for that. Is that, at 9:30 it says, hey, we're putting you into sleep mode. So you got about 30 minutes before it's time for you to go to bed, wind down, get off of here, do something else. That's helped me a great deal. Obviously, I didn't do that till after the COVID stitch and things of that nature. But then when I'm at work, I think I try to solve other people's problems. It kind of helps me with mine, but I also have the mindset that if you have somebody that is at work that is worried about what's going on the outside, and most companies say leave it at the door. Well, if you leave it at the door, they're going to be inside that whole 8 hours thinking about what they got going on the outside. So then they're probably not going to be as productive for you.
Right.
So I try to fix those things with a balance between what the company wants from them and then for them as a person, And so once I do that, that really kind of helps me keep my mood the same way. But my schedule part of it, it's like I haven't gotten that down. That's probably, and obviously you can see that. It was like, I didn't, it's like, what do you have going on? And I'm like, nothing, but it's clearly on my calendar. But instead of going to my calendar to actually look, I was like, okay, I've already committed. And even though I have this, my word is probably one of the other biggest things that I'm sitting back and say, I got to stick with my word on what I say I'm going to do and not make excuses of it. It's not your fault or anybody else's fault that I double book myself, right? It's not. And so how do I go about, appeasing to everybody and still doing the same thing? So I'm still getting better with a schedule. That's probably the biggest part of what I could get better at. But then again, I should be getting better, not doing the same thing. But then it's like, what do I have on my plate?
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing is that, I need to have a few more things on my plate. I know it's hard for me to get up at 5 in the morning. I'm probably not going to the gym, but I have a VR headset and I can sit there and do some boxing right there in my living room and get a good workout off of it, which I've done, a few times. But then it's like, when I get home from work, the mood is set and I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And now I'm looking around and going, I don't have to do any chores around here. So what is it that I need to do? Is it a right time for me to smoke? Can I spend that time or do I have something else that I need to be doing? Do I want to go to the lounge? I've gotten into, therapeutically starting to roll cigars. And so it's like, do I want to do that? So it's kind of open-ended, which I try to leave that because if I get it on schedule, I'm kind of lost if I can't meet those demands of what the schedule is asking me.
You a big reader? Audiobooks?
Yeah,
audio. I do more audiobooks.
That's probably my biggest thing is that, I'll, like my news, I'll go on my tablet and I'm reading, stories and things of that nature. But then it's like the books, like I'm going to get the book that, Busy's talking about and I just want to listen to it. Yeah. Because if I listen to it, I'll stay more focused than if I'm sitting here and I'm reading it,
I fall asleep.
I'm the same way.
I do too.
I listen to audiobooks. I probably say I knock down 2 books a week. But if I read the pages, night.
I'm glad I'm not the only person like
no.
that.
I'm the exact same way as well. I a lot of times will do the audiobook because I'm in my car or at my desk a lot.
Exactly.
I'll have that playing, and then if it's good enough, I'll buy the hardback. And then when I pick that back up again, the next time I go through it, it's easier. It's usually part of my wind down in the evening, and I'll highlight in it. You know, I will straight take a highlighter and just key things that hit me as now I've already heard it once, and then little things will stick with me more.
I do visual learning by reading a book. Like IKEA should have their own university on following instructions, because I think I got IKEA everything in my house. So I can learn by looking at the visual, insert tab A and the slot B and all that. I have to see that. Or if I'm learning some camera technique or something like that, I have to visually see it. But reading for education or enjoyment, no bueno. I can't do it.
I have to. I'm like that. I learn better physically doing.
Yes.
And show me and let me do it. That syncs way better with me than just reading something. I mean, you can give me an instruction manual this thick. Yeah, I can read it, or I can put it together doing that. But if you show me, I'm going to retain that way better and be a lot better at doing whatever that task is.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing. Makes me feel good because I always wonder if there was something wrong with me, because every time I kind of get into my Bible, then I'm like, I start reading, and then it's like I'm nodding off a little bit, and I'm like, is there something wrong with me that I'm just not reading this, well? But if you give me something, and I watch a ton of movies. I mean, obviously, all-time great movie is Blazing Saddles, right? That's my movie, hands down. I they can't recreate that.
Cancel
today.
culture, man. I don't know if you
they
watch
better
that
not.
anymore.
Yeah, leave that one alone.
You can't, but they can't accept that today. That's something wrong with that movie for them, when that's actually just a good movie. And you don't take it as seriously as a lot of people would take it.
Comedians have had to change their whole thing up.
Why?
Because of the way the world is now. If you look at the comedies of the 70s and early 80s, it's so different.
Yeah.
And everybody wasn't so easily offended. Like, everybody didn't take things so damn
Think about
personally.
this. If Eddie Murphy's Raw came out today, Eddie Murphy would
Blazing
not
Saddles
exist.
came out today.
Yeah.
Oh, Blazing Saddles came out today.
Wouldn't make it past the premiere.
No. And Mel Brooks is a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles, History of the World Part 1, all the, Spaceballs, all that would not make it today.
No. And I don't understand where we had this big switch where everybody is so offended now.
Because everybody wants to be heard.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like they didn't get, we didn't recognize or hear them then, but now we've set the platform that just go out there and my opinions outweigh your opinions.
And then it turns into a big, it's like any type of exclusivity is wrong.
Right.
Any type of, I don't care if it's social class, if it's race, color, religion, sexual preference, all that, you cannot be exclusive anymore. Everybody has to belong to your club, and if they don't, you're wrong.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
But,
it's the way of the world.
My grandparents loved All in the Family. And then when you sit there and talk about Archie Bunker, everybody thought Archie Bunker was a racist, right? And this is my opinion, was I didn't feel like he was a racist. I felt like he was a product of his time, right? The way he was upbringing and things it was just right. Everything he said, from calling, he didn't call George by his first, he called him Jefferson. He wouldn't call him by his first name, and then, don't treat your mammy like that. He was a product of his time. And so,
but the crazy thing is, George Jefferson was the exact same way. And everybody knows the Jeffersons was a spinoff from All in the Family. And George was, but it's crazy. Nobody called Archie Bunker a racist from a white person standpoint.
Right.
But they all called George a racist.
Yep.
Even though George is pretty blatant with how he felt or whatever. But that's what Norman Lear, he captured the mindsets of the time and then put no brakes on it.
Right.
None. Good Times. All those shows, he just literally, people could relate from the standpoint of where they came from. And it made my wife be like, because I watch Cozy TV. So I go to bed every night watching Good Times, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, One Day at a Time. Like, man, I'm in heaven. My kids is like, who are these archaic people you're watching? I'm like, sit down. You may learn something.
You may learn something.
Yeah. How many mics does that board hold?
4.
Can it hold 5?
No.
All right.
Hey, you know what? Yes. If we have a USB mic, I can plug it in the USB. No, we can't, because the USB goes through the board here. So 4.
What about a splitter?
If we get another board, yes, you can put more in from another board.
All right, I'm gonna figure this out because
his wheels over there turning. I feel the table shaking. It's been the whole
time. I'm having a hard time being the host here and asking questions, but he's doing such a good job of just putting stuff out there.
Yeah, I know AJ was gonna flow.
This is what I told y'all. Like when I made the post the other night. This is when AJ and I sit down. This is the kind of conversations we have, and it's deep. I learn something every time I talk to this man. Like every single time, I go away really deeply thinking about something because we have genuine good conversation.
Right.
And completely different backgrounds, completely different XYZ, a lot of things in common. But I mean, every time, and I was just sitting here thinking, I was like, granted, I still want to have the other elements, but I think when we did this show with my friend Darnell and we talked about doing the racism show and really deeply discussing that, AJ's got to be on that show. Like, we got to have him in here to talk about that, just because I think his deep, thoughtful insights and everything that I know about him is going to propel that conversation so much.
I think one of the biggest things in a little backstory, and it came from me coming up. So I was born March the 8th, 1968. All right, about a month before Dr. King was assassinated and, passed or whatever. And my mom told me the story when I was around about 10.
Yeah.
That her job then now was to protect me because it was difficult for young black men. And God forbid if you had a voice, they were going to silence that. And so I was like, I really truly didn't understand it. But she had a conversation when she was around 10 with my grandfather, and when Emmett Till was murdered and things of that nature. And so it was like, I'm in a different state because coming up, I didn't know any of that. Again, I'm just empty.
Kids are empty. You don't learn that stuff. You're taught that stuff.
Right. But it's like why I appreciate going through it, but then I also have a better understanding of people, and I always tell people one of my best working relationships is when I was out in Atlanta, and it was with a known Klansman.
This is going to blow y'all's mind.
And he was a known Klansman, all right? And it was one of the best relationships that I think I ever had with anybody because we knew where we stood with each other. There was no fakeness. I didn't have to come to work and ask you how your weekend was. I didn't have to sit there and tell you the latest joke I had. When we talked about the business. When it was about the business, you swore up and down we were the best of friends because it was about the business. But your personal life, I didn't have to get involved with that. And I wish a lot more people were like that, because they're not. They smile in your face and, it's underlining. I'd rather for you to sit back and say, I flat out just don't like you. Okay. Is it something I did, or if this is your belief? If that's just belief in my skin color, trust me, I truly understand that, because I am in a race that the world doesn't know what my race is. All right, and I'll give you an example. And this is not, you know, AJ and his mind thought. I'm gonna go from what was put on birth certificates. Right, my grandmother was born a Negro. My mom was born a colored. I was born black, and my kids were born African American. What kind of race do you get to change every decade or whatever, you know, because, you know, is it you and what you feel or what we want to identify as and things of that nature? When it comes down to it, if it was a job application, I always put other on there. And I always said, you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit here because at the end of the day, no matter what they say, I'm in America.
And a human being.
Yes. And I'd rather just be called an American. Whatever that is, I can't go back to a motherland and things of that nature. I'm an American. I was born here. I was raised here. My father fought for this country and things of that nature. I'm just a straight American. Can I be an American?
Yeah, why do we have to have all these other boxes?
Yeah, I just happen to be black or African American or whatever you want to, you know, you're going to call me. I'm just waiting on the next change that, you know, that's going to come up that say, well, no, we're not calling you African American anymore. We're going to call you this. I'd just rather be called an American. That's it at the end of the day. You know, get out of this, but it's changing the mindset of not just, you know, people that call us that, but then the mindset of people that truly believe it, you know. And again, my mindset is I'm American. You know, you can sit back and wear your black and you can call me whatever. I'm good with that. Whatever you say, I'm going to identify as an American, and you can take it because you want to sit back and separate or segregate or move us, you know, into this
categorize
group.
Us, whatever.
You know, and that's going through, but who else would they do that with? You know, now I think we've all got it because now we're either Latino or non-Latino.
Yeah.
Before you get it, I'm like, where did we get this from that you want to sit back and just say, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. You can have to go Brandon, right? What is Brandon?
Yeah.
You know, because he speaks Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah, fluently. I mean, fluently.
So how would you categorize him? And that's the thing about it is that don't want to be categorized, you know, but we're so stuck in our ways that we have to. And, well, that's you if that's what you want to continue to do because that's not something that I want to be a part of. And so it's okay. I don't take offense to it and things of that nature because it doesn't matter and it doesn't make me who I am that you feel that I am this person or whatever it may be. I just can't do it.
Hey, amen to that. I'm totally with you on that. I think that's categorizing and everything else and putting things in boxes all the time just drives me absolutely insane. We had a deep conversation about that once already, so let's get that lit before I ask anything else. So what do you use as your learning grounds? And if you don't want to say too much about this, just because I know a little bit about your upcoming project, where do you go to find your stories for your movies? Where do you get your inspiration when you're getting to do these movies now, or films or short films, whatever your particular avenue is at the time? Where does the inspiration come from? Where do you find your stories? What are you picking that relates to you? What area or arena are you going down now?
I think the same as everybody else. It's a story. All right, it's everyday life. It's from people. You know, there is not one story out there when you look at a movie or whatever it may be, a television show that's not based off of an experience somebody had. All right, whether they were a child, another great, movie is I like the Ten Commandments, right? Where'd they get it from? You know, they had a book, right? So it's a story that you hear from somebody, And the one that me and my buddy are working on, it came from a story that he was talking about and just in his childhood. And it was like, hey, this happened. And I was like, okay. And it's like, hey, I went to court and all this. Now I'm starting to think because this might be interesting. But who's it going to be interesting to is probably the biggest part of it. You know, who's my audience that I'm trying to target, you know. But I listen to people, you know, and it's like, that might make a great story. You know, it might be a tragedy to them, but it might be a great story. You know, a lot of the horror movies that we sit here and talk about is that somebody probably had a dream about it, you know, or they saw something in the middle of the night that, you know, maybe a car comes by your window and you see this shadow. And now you're sitting here thinking that, oh, wait a minute, that's demonic, when it was just a shadow from a car light or something like that. But I'm just, that's all I do is just, I'll just look and see and just be like talking to people and go, this makes sense to me. You know, how can I turn it into a story? You know, even if it's just, you know, I even have a little short that I'm kind of working on. I wrote the script, which I'm not good at writing, but I ended up writing the script, and now it's just, do I execute it or do I let somebody else execute it? And like I said, it's just it's a quick little short film. Yeah. But I think it's funny to me, you know, but it might not be funny to some other people, you know, in that sense. But I need to look out as, am I making myself laugh with it? Do I really care if anybody else looks at it and things of that nature?
Am I trying to make other people laugh?
Yeah, you know. So,
and how do you balance, and in that, how do you balance with your background and passion for photography and how you look at the world through that lens? What do you do to find balance between telling the story and showing the story?
I think it's more of what I want to see on television. You know, so even if it's just shooting, right? You know, I might look at, you know, there's the one camera that's looking this way. I might want to have a, you know, 3 camera setup, you know. Maybe the lights are a little bit differently. There might be a light that's bouncing down, even though these are high ceilings and things, you know. But then what is that mood that I'm looking for? You know, so it's like, okay, what is that mood telling me? But then I also go through and say, you got one camera. You got no light. Can you tell a story? Very difficult because you don't have any light. Okay, what if I introduce one light? Can I tell a story with that? And so my mindset is mainly on starting from that part. This is all I got. Can I still tell a story? All right, if I got 2 lights, then I can make the story a little bit better. Now I got 3. Oh, I can be a little bit more dramatic with it now in the things that I do. But it's always starting with just that one thing that you have. And mine is the imagination, obviously, and what I'm looking for, you know, and will everybody else kind of like what I'm doing, you know. I haven't figured out, you know, like, you know, Steven Spielberg, greatness. Yeah. All of his movies are the same. We don't see that when you sit back and say E.T. and, you know, Close Encounters or Indiana Jones. We can talk about that. They're all the same because he has the same formula, right? He has family or whatever it may be that come together. Then something gets lost, whether it's a child or an object or something like that. That's the middle of the story. And then the end, it comes back together. It's the same.
Never thought about it like that.
Oh, I've studied it. It is true. He produced one of the movies that scared the living hell out of me as a small child, and the formula you just said was the premise of the whole movie.
What movie?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Oh, yes.
He didn't direct it, but Tobe Hooper directed it, but you might as well say Steven Spielberg directed that movie because what happened? Yep. Family moves into a crib. Yep. Carol Ann's ass gets sucked into the TV. She's lost. The whole movie is about getting her back. Yep. And at the end of the movie, the family's reunited. Yep. E.T. stopped down the block. The cab left him. He got lost, had an adventure. What happened? They came back and got him. It's
the same thing.
You're correct. I mean, yeah.
It's the same thing. A lot of the movies nowadays, there's always a twist at the end when you start looking at like the suspense, things of that nature. It's like it leads you all the way up to, you know it's that person. You know it. Yeah. And then it gets to the end and there's the twist. There's always that twist at the end is who you thought it was. It wasn't.
Who was good at that? Who was a young man? Now he's older, but who in this generation mastered the twist? What's his name? Think about it. His name is weird as hell. Sounds like it's a Native American name, but he's not. Come on, y'all can do it.
Shalom.
There you go.
Yeah.
All his movies always had a
Is he the one that does
twist.
the like? Oh man, we just watched some of these.
He did the one with Bruce.
Something.
No, he didn't do Knives
House.
Out. No, he ain't that good. Knives Out and Glass Onion are
those
dope.
Are amazing. Yes,
he didn't do that.
See, I really like stuff like that.
He did The Village. He did the one I really liked by him was the one with Mel Gibson when the aliens came down.
Signs.
Okay. The classic one with Mr. Glass with Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
That they made a sequel.
Oh, yes.
That's the one that broke him. No, the one that broke him out is I See Dead People. What was that?
Yes, that was the Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. That's what broke him out.
Yes.
The whole movie, you thinking Bruce is cool or whoever wasn't in
Bruce.
Yeah, and he really wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, it just even in The Village. Everybody hated that movie. I thought that movie was dope. You remember that?
Yep.
Have you seen that?
I don't remember that one.
I do.
You got if you get it. I don't want to spoil it for you because the twist at the end.
I mean,
is like,
I've probably seen it. I'm terrible at this when it comes to like. I watch movies unless it's something that like I absolutely love. I watch it one time, short of meeting my wife, because my wife will watch series and shows and movies over and over, just like my little brother. Yeah. They can repeat lines to you. They can tell you who directed it, all the actors, all the characters, who wrote the book. I mean, it's crazy. I can do that kind of stuff mainly with music. I can't do it with movies.
Yeah.
They are movie Nazis, and they're so good at it. Like, I mean, like that they would kill me in a Jeopardy game if it came to just movies. And who was in that? M. Night Shyamalan directed these 5 movies. I remember them. If you start naming, yep, I've seen that. Yep.
He just did one called, is it Bones? It's called Old, I think. When people
Only
go
the
to
decent ones is a lie, Sarah.
they go to a resort and they go to a specific beach and literally they grow old within a matter of hours till they disintegrate and they try to escape off this beach. It's crazy.
Oh, I saw the previews for that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it happens in a matter of 12 hours. It's crazy. But anyway.
You know, I don't even know if you know, like with George Lucas and Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big Star Wars fan. But
love Star Wars.
You know, they were a whole little pack, right? And so he showed the movie to Spielberg, and the movie went, and the iconic start of the movie, because Spielberg was like, the movie's all over the place. I don't even know what it's about. And that's when they were like, okay, put the words and tell everybody what's going on in the beginning. Because he didn't have that at first, which was like genius. And now you know the whole story right off the bat of what's going on. And then they go into the movie and who does that, you know?
That's cool. I like that. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Obviously, Blazing Saddles is probably hands down, I think, greatness to me, right?
Okay.
But then when I sit back and, is it the greatest of all time or something that I could be flipping through channels and I'm just going to stop there,
You can't
right?
help it. You got to stop.
You're just going to stop and watch. And I think any of the Indiana Jones movies is probably going to be that. But I'm still Star Wars. I mean, I am like...
Would you say that's the one that's inspired you the most too? Like, for what you try to... What you've modeled some of your stuff off, or what
I'm
you've
sitting here
taken
freaking
and, like,
out
moved
because my
forward?
doppelganger is sitting across the table from me.
I know it's a little weird.
It's just
in
like
certain
freaking me
aspects, I've had that same
out.
thought half of this show.
So when you look at that and think about it, and I think what really kind of got me in Star Wars, 1977, the original, right? Do you know what the synopsis of that movie was?
Yep.
I don't remember.
A farm boy saves the universe.
Farm Boy Saves the Universe. Okay.
That's let me get off in here and I want to sell you this movie. Okay, what is it about? And that's all they said. And the rest is history. You know, so when I'm looking at also trying to sell, you know, my idea of any show, movie, it's like, how can I make it quick? Because most people, you got 45 seconds. If I can't capture you in 45 seconds, I might as well go on and I'm done, you know, because you're not going to listen to me. And it could be the greatest thing in the world.
So since I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm going to test my alter ego here and see if you can do it. You know what a tagline is? Mm-hmm. So 1978, Warner Brothers
Wasn't born.
they release a movie, and it's about a guy with a big S on his chest, named Christopher Reeve. And on the bottom of the movie poster, and at the end of the trailer, what was the tagline? Do you remember?
I do not remember.
They said, and it was true because this is one of the first movies that ever successfully used wires. Now, they were doing it in Japan already with the, what was the name of the brothers? The whatever brothers from, but the tagline on Superman said, "You will believe a man can fly." Huh. And that was it. Like you said, so back then it was so simple. They didn't have to be these over-the-top John Wick style trailers. It literally said, "You will believe a man can fly," and everybody showed up to see what they were talking about. That's all it took.
I will agree.
See, I got way more into Batman. I think Bane is my favorite character.
See, I'm Michael Keaton,
like
89 back
Michael
then.
Keaton, and he's coming back too now.
Bane, when he was like, I was born in the darkness, like, man, that whole scene, like, that's just
Christopher Nolan killed it. I mean, Joker, the second
Heath Ledger
Nolan
Joker is the best Joker ever.
Hands down. I was just about to ask you, who's your favorite Joker?
Heath Ledger. And it's going to be decades before anybody can touch that.
Yeah.
It's just, the guy died
trying to come off of that.
Yeah.
Trying to come off of that
character.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have done it any better. So until that's in people's past a lot, I don't think you're going to come close to it. Where I think there's still a lot of room for a character to really come back would be the Penguin. Because they're
already doing it.
I know, but for somebody to do the Penguin the way Heath Ledger did the Joker, Danny DeVito was probably the closest.
Yeah,
and then they had the little mini series where that actor, and I don't know who that was, did a pretty good job. But for someone to really take the Penguin and turn it into what Heath Ledger turned the Joker into, that I think will happen before you'll see another person
I agree.
come close to doing the Joker.
I agree with you. But I have to say the Joaquin version of the Joaquin Phoenix version of the Joker, because of the way they approached it, like my mom ain't doing no superhero movie. She watched the Joker with me, and her words were, "I know people like that." If you looked at the way they spun that to be more realistic, he won an Oscar.
That's the best transition ever, though, from somebody doing what Heath Ledger did to that and not making it
campy
as movie-ish.
Yes.
And what Phoenix did with that to me is it made it almost like that was almost like a documentary.
Exactly.
Like, that
his laugh was a medical condition, a mental condition, and how he handled pain. It wasn't due to being dumped into a vat of acid. It was. But what I did like about Nolan's, they didn't even explain. They didn't give a backstory. He was just who he was. But the new one, and you heard about the new one. Have you seen the pictures?
I haven't seen it, no.
Lady Gaga is Harley Quinn.
Okay.
That has potential.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought Jared Leto was going to be a much better Joker than he was.
But he was stuck in a James Gunn film, so it's going to be
right?
campy.
Yeah.
But you also, to me, you need a Jared Leto Joker after a Heath Ledger, the same way you needed the Phoenix version to have some space between actor changes for characters,
Right.
to allow you to have that character taken somewhere else for you.
Batman is my downright all-time. Batman number 1, Wolverine number 2.
Who's
different
the
brands.
worst Batman of all time?
Oh, when they got stupid and put Val Kilmer and all them dudes.
Yeah, I didn't like Val Kilmer as
Yeah,
Batman.
that was dumb.
I didn't like Val Kilmer either, and I think when you do
George
Batman,
Clooney?
like there's certain guys that were
no,
really good Batman, but they weren't good.
Bruce Waynes.
Bruce Wayne's. Like
I agree.
Ben Affleck was pretty good as Batman, but Ben Affleck is not Bruce Wayne. Christian Bale,
Yeah.
phenomenal Bruce Wayne, and a good Batman.
He says,
The Ben
Tom
Affleck
Cruise.
version, once again, comic book head.
I agree.
You have to read the series. It came out when I was in 9th grade. It was called The Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. And it's Batman when he's in his 40, almost 50, pretty much retired. And the one thing I loved about the Batman versus Superman, that was the first time they let Batman actually let loose. As violent as he was, he actually used the gun. Like, that is the real Dark Knight. Not the Dark Knight with all the morals and don't be nice. Nah, he did what he had to do.
Yeah.
So Ben Affleck's, that older Batman was gruff, grumpy, worn-torn, and he realized his old ways of letting them live didn't work. He had to finish the job and do what it do. So, but as you look at all this superhero stuff, the one thing I don't like is that's all Hollywood has had for the last 10 years. It's like when you talk about favorite movies, like my favorite director, Steven is now he's second because I have to say Martin Scorsese is my favorite.
down.
And you know his style, like, and he doesn't even try to. When they do movies that are different from what they do, that's actually exceptional. Because my first, Goodfellas is my all-time favorite movie. Second, it's a Steven Spielberg movie, but it doesn't involve E.T. It's actually The Color Purple.
Okay.
That's just like, and it's totally different from what he normally does.
Right.
That's why I embrace it so much. Then third is every Indiana Jones movie except for the one with the aliens. The third one with his dad and the Germans and all that, killed it. The Last Crusade, killed it. The one that's coming up, I think it may actually be a nice saying goodbye.
It may be.
For the character. We'll see if they don't mess it up like the last one.
He's going to have somebody doing his stunts, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. They retrofitted him, de-aged him and all that.
Yeah.
But
You're going to have to do that
See,
part
some
of
of my favorite movies are going to be 3000 BC,
it. Okay.
Apocalypto.
oh, wow.
Django's, I wouldn't say is one of my favorite movies, but it's probably
I
the
watch
movie
it every time it comes
I
on
can
TV.
quote that movie more than any other movie.
I watch that every time. Quentin Tarantino, period, is dope.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
That's
has
my
to be
number.
up
That's
there.
number.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction and Sin City. I really liked Sin City early on, and that I liked the cinematography between that black and white coming in and out. Like,
Robert Rodriguez is one of the main. When I started wanting to do movies, I took all of his film courses in El Mariachi. How he made a movie for $16,000, donating blood and all that other stuff. I mean, only thing about Robert Rodriguez, then he got so sucked up by technology after Sin City, Spy Kids, and all these other crazy kiddie type movies. I missed his Desperado.
Yeah. Oh,
Dope.
Desperado.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah.
300.
300 was great.
300.
Yes.
Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, I mean, those are that's my lane right there.
Yeah. But see, if I came back to another great movie for me was Smokey and the Bandit. Not 2, not 3, the first one. I think Jackie Gleason, hands down, was one of the greatest of, his era in his time. But mind you, I grew up in the 70s, and, I love the Carol Burnett Show and Tim Conway and Harvey Korman. That was just genius. And if you ever really want to see true comedy, you have to go back and actually just watch
everything
what
from
they did.
In Living Color. Saturday Night Live was in that era, so they kind of like if you go watch this. Hey Garrett, have you ever heard of a guy called Flip Wilson? No.
What?
No.
That's
Sarah, what was the
Geraldine?
name of Chris's favorite movie? I can't think of the name of it right now. And they gave me, my mom and my stepdad, when we were in Hawaii for 2 weeks, my stepdad was so just blown away that I'd never seen his favorite movie. I can't think of what it's called right now. Sarah will chime in here in a minute.
She said blasphemy.
Yeah, I don't know what part that was to, but
Sarah, please tell us what are you talking about on that part so we can. Hey, what's her favorite movie?
What is Sarah's favorite movie? I don't know if I could pin down what her favorite movie is. My wife loves history, and she loves going back and watching stuff that involves like King Henry, Elizabeth, all the kings and queens of England. That.
So she watched that Netflix show.
Guarantee you the answer is yes.
I don't know what the name is, but they make a big deal out of it every season.
Guarantee you the answer is yes.
Did she like Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah. We have literally seen, me and her, I've seen Game of Thrones from start to finish at least 4 times.
Oh, wow.
She's probably seen it 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
My wife is a night person. I'm a morning person. So she stays up and watches stuff, and we'll put stuff on, and I fall asleep, and she continues watching. But that 70s show, Friends, Game of Thrones, trying to think of another one. But yeah, like that is constant in the cycle of things we watch.
You know what I just started back watching, which is kind of funny, and I've been watching it for about a week now, is Night Court, the original.
I was about to say, they got the new version.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
I watched that as a kid. Yeah. The Wire is another one that I really love. She was not as big a fan of that, but The Wire, man, I thought that was a phenomenal.
The Wire
I think The Wire set everything up for what television is now.
Yeah, I will agree.
To be realistic,
I definitely agree with that.
Yes, she said historical fiction.
Yeah, The Wire is HBO. Do you know HBO passed on Yellowstone?
Really?
Yes. They
MTV Productions is doing like a lot of stuff.
So you know what I'm watching like obsessively crazy right now? 1883 and 1923.
1923. I'm caught up on 1923.
Have you watched 1883?
Yes.
Man, and I haven't seen one episode of Yellowstone.
See, we're stuck on this king of something in
Mayor of Kingstown.
Mayor of Kingstown.
I already know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I'm ate up with this right now.
See how much, but the thing I hate, we went from as kids having 3 channels to now there's so much content out here. It's like $70 for each subscription because it's so spread out.
But it was going to be better than just paying your AT&T UVerse $180 cable bill, and I guarantee we're already all paying
right back up there,
the same or more, having all these damn subscriptions.
I got YouTube TV and thought I was free.
I did too. Yep.
Because you got to watch, you got to get, it's crazy if you look at it, you got to get all these different things just to watch 1 or 2 programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you miss out on it, because like your boy, King of Harlem.
Oh yeah, that's on Epic.
I'm like, man,
Godfather of Harlem.
Godfather of Harlem.
Yeah.
There's nothing else on Epics I want to see.
That's it.
But I'm not gonna sit there and pay $9. But because of Power, I got Stars.
Okay.
But at least 50 Cent gives us like 8 different versions of that show, so I'm cool with that. But for One show?
And like you said, when we came up, there was only 3 channels.
And TV went off at 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. You had that noise.
Yep, the
that
Star
means go to
Spangled
bed.
Banner, and
You're
it
not
went to
watching
bed.
anything else. And then they started expanding over in the night, and you watched all these infomercials and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you had good content back then. And you didn't have...
news was actually news.
Yes.
That was it, right?
Yes.
You had the news. I mean, the thing about it is that you would be there to watch whatever show it was, because there was no comeback and here come the rerun, or you could watch it later, or they're going to show it on the next day.
You had to catch it live, or you had to hear about it later.
Yep.
I should have gone here and I should have known this. Sarah's favorite movie is Tombstone.
Hands down. So if you want to talk about Val Kilmer,
Yeah.
Now we
the
good.
best Doc Holliday
Ever.
Hands
Ever.
down.
Now we good.
For
Yes.
sure.
Hands down.
For sure.
Wow.
I can watch that one all the time too. I
Yeah,
can flip
that's
through
one of
it.
those. If
and-
we go past it, it's staying on.
man,
Yeah.
Man, we be here for 4 more hours. We talk about good TV and old shows. So I have a question.
yes.
So when I got an education degree in photography only because I wanted to understand light better.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. But we had to have a muse or somebody that you inspired you to pick up a camera. So I selected one. So before I tell you mine, because I want to be a filmmaker, or I am a filmmaker, but he did both. So before I tell you mine, do you have anybody that it inspired you and really motivated you to pick up a camera?
I'm gonna say,
Please don't be mine. Please don't be the same one.
please,
Please do. This would be awesome.
Gordon Parks. Hands down. Probably was
I told you this is weird.
genius
believe-
in his time that just made me want to look at everything differently and what he did. Because he told stories with everything that he shot. And that was just like, that was probably it for me, because he was just amazing.
See, I was more when I got into it. Ansel Adams
Yeah.
and
The Sunny
landscape,
16, yeah,
black
but-
and white.
Yeah.
That's what I.
So for
gravitated
everybody
towards.
listening, that was my person
Was that your person?
You see me throw my headphones across there? That's why I'm bugging out. I'm like, Gordon Parks was responsible for the
Yeah,
Renaissance
if y'all
of
got
Harlem.
that feedback,
Yes.
that was not Garrett knocking anything over.
No,
or
that
knocking
was
his mic
me
over.
literally
That was
throwing my
Biz for
headphones
once.
across the desk in the back, because if I said don't say, and he did. He also directed one of my favorite movies, which was Shaft.
I like
Gordon
Shaft.
Park?
Yes.
Shaft
Wow.
with all that, but he was the master of capturing, like you said, storytelling. And it wasn't people setting up and posing. It was street photography at its best.
Yep.
And when he brung Harlem back to the forefront of everything, people didn't even know it existed in the way of successful black people in New York, upscale, all that. Nobody even knew it existed until he showed that side of it.
So
and
you
then this
said-
dude was from Kansas.
All right, I got one for you guys.
Yeah.
I got the movie now, and I know both of you have probably seen this. This is what I caught a lot of flack for not having seen. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
With Robert Newman and
That's correct, because I remember that name.
yeah, that was
This old timers movie. I didn't know
I'm
nothing
sorry,
about
Paul Newman.
Paul Newman, Robert
Newman.
Redford.
Robert Redford. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
Never seen it.
Never seen it.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have to really soon. I know my stepdad's probably just going to put this on next time I'm over, and I'm going to be watching this. So hopefully it's good. I was hoping you guys
It
were going to be
is.
like, oh, man, yeah, you have to. And you guys were like, yeah, okay.
You know what's so
No,
funny
it's-
about that?
it's
I
good.
watched that probably a week ago.
Really?
I did. I ended up watching that a week ago. It's good. Now, some of the other stuff that I have when you start talking about genius with comedy, Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier had these
Do you want me
three
to name
films.
them? Do you want me to name them?
So I can tell you, and I'm going to probably pull up on my phone right now, because these were some of the first movies I bought.
Don't need a
the
phone.
very first one,
Uptown Saturday Night.
Uptown Saturday
Thank you
Night,
very much.
hands down.
And then what's the next
A
one?
year later, let's do it again.
Thank you very much.
Sarah,
And
write
then they
that
had
down.
a third one. It was, I don't remember it. Like, it was almost more like a lean on, it's not a lean on me, but it was something I didn't really like that one like I liked the first two. That
if
was
you know
like
any of
hands
your
down.
favorite rappers, all their names came from Uptown Saturday Night.
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls was a character in this movie.
Biggie Smalls.
Just like that's where they got all their names from.
Kansas City Mac.
Kansas City Mac. Yes.
Nice.
So now that's something. If you ever want to just find it on Amazon Prime or something like that.
Oh, I'm gonna
giving
do
you
it.
that
I'm gonna write it
assignment.
down as soon as we get off
Yeah,
here. You guys are gonna add this to my to watch list.
Those were good movies at the time when you talked about Shaft. You know, that's why I'm like, I could, you know, and that's the hard part. If you put all of these movies on different channels and I'm sitting there looking at it, I need to split screens. I'm probably going to have one over on my tablet. I'm probably going to put one on my phone, and I'm going to have one on my television because I can't sit there and say, man, I'm going to watch this first and this one. If it's on, I would have all of them on because they're such great movies to me, you know. But let's do it again. I mean, that's a
Classic song, classic movie, classic.
Man, that is. And like I said, Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, the way they work, because they're night and day, right? I mean, you think of Sidney Poitier, you know, and what he was doing in the 60s and, you know, and breaking this color barrier, you know, and how serious some of his roles were. To see him fall over into something that's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
They worked well together.
I was in the Bahamas last weekend because, you know, he has his own bridge because he's Bahamian.
Okay.
So to get to Atlantis, you have to go over the Sidney Poitier Bridge. Faces on the bridge. And everything. Oh, they got him all over everywhere in the Bahamas. Big star.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to drop our show questions on you.
Okay.
We do this with everybody at the
Show
end of the
questions.
show.
Okay. I don't know what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready for them.
Yeah.
Kinda.
I'm so ready to hear your answers to these because I know these are going to be reels Biz is going to have to like nail right away because these reels are going up right away because I just know what we're going to get out of this. So the first one is, if you had one piece of advice you could leave your kids, and it was your last like dying words, you could leave them with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Be kind to everyone. Even if they're being, I don't want to say evil to you, to be kind to everyone would probably be the biggest thing because you don't know their story. And they don't determine who you are just because they put you in a mood of wanting to hate them. If you just be kind, it fixes everything else.
Fair enough. The next question, this can come from anywhere.
Okay.
And because the show is called Common Sense, and we just try to talk about things that everybody would want to talk about, some things people don't talk about, just add some common sense to the world today. We ask everybody to give us their 2 cents. And it could be your 2 cents that something maybe you believe in or you say every day. It could be something, a message you want to get out, something you were inspired from the show, something you haven't got to say yet, or it could just be something you truly feel deep down that it's your message, it's your 2 cents.
My 2 cents. Can I do a cent and a half? Can we cut a penny in half, maybe?
You can do whatever you want.
I don't
friend.
know. Wow, that's a good question. I've never really, really thought about that. Treat people the way that you want to be treated is something my mom always taught me. And I never really truly understood it when she was teaching it to me. And it has a different feel when you truly understand the meaning of it. Is that we're all different, but we're all the same, right? If you really look at it. There's no different. You were born of a woman the same way I was, You grew up as a child and you may have had a different life than I did, but there's nothing different about us.
Yeah.
There really isn't. So if I treat you the way that I want to be treated, you may return that to me. In that sense of, I get a joy of, I want to see you, you know, and I want to talk to you. And I know that no matter what I may be going through, you can put me in a mood of happiness. And sometimes we just need that happiness in our lives, not even knowing that we need that happiness. And so just treat everybody the exact same way, regardless of what it is or who they are and things of that nature. I'll give you a quick little story behind this. And in
Please.
my race, all right, we have a tendency of, and I hate that I see it a lot now on social media, is that we're policing the police, right? And so everybody has automatically got their guards up when it comes down to officers and things of that nature. When I was about 17, I got dressed up. When I grew up in the projects, I got dressed up, and if you went to downtown Dallas, they had the West End down there.
Yep.
And that's where everybody went to. I didn't have a car. I had to catch the bus. So I was dressed up. I had a little satchel, and you know, it had where I could just put it on. I was running late to get to the bus. I had it in my hand. So when I was running, mind you, 2 officers stopped me because they had thought I stole somebody's purse. So when they opened it up, I had my mom's 22 actually in the bag. And they poured it up and they said, all right, what is this? And my mom always taught me too, just tell the truth. You know, it doesn't hurt. It's either going to go either way. So I told them, I said, I'm going to the West End. When the last bus puts me off, it's going to be on this side of the projects. And I'm like, would you walk back through these projects dressed like I am? Don't you probably get robbed? They took the bullets out, put the gun back in the bag, and told me to go back home. So if they catch you again, then, you know, they would do something. That could have went either way, all right? And I could have a criminal record and things of that nature, and I don't have anything like that. But they made a conscious effort of just making a decision based off of not the area that I lived in, not knowing that they had gangs and drugs in that area and things of that nature. They took my word for what it was and said, go home. And it changed me on, obviously, you know, I guess now if I go to the West End, which I would do, I'm going to leave at a certain time where I can get off on this side over here and I don't have to walk through those projects. But I've always, since then, always said I'm going to always give every officer the benefit of the doubt. Now, have I had some that have been kind of shitty to me? Sure. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt. All because those 2 ladies, and we used to call them Cagney and Lacey. I don't know if you remember that show.
Come on now.
You know, but Cagney and Lacey is what we called them. And I'm still looking because I want to know if they're still around. Because I want to say thank you to them. Because they could have changed my life that day. Me not knowing, right? I got this gun in here, and if I'd have got into a situation, I don't know if I would even use the gun. You know, I don't know. I just thought I'd feel safe just because I had it. But they made this conscious effort, and I want to try to find them. And about maybe not even a year ago, I was smoking a cigar, which is common ground again, with Eddie Garcia, the chief of the Dallas Police. You know, and he was out trying to be quiet, not trying to do anything. And when it was all said and done, you know, I pulled him to the side and was like, you know, thank you, I appreciate this. And he was like, you know who I am? I was like, yeah, I know who you are. I just, you know, I'm not going to disrupt your evening because I know who you are and you're trying to be incognito and things, you know. But I said I wanted to reach back out to him to see if I could find or if they had a way to know who was actually working that area at that time. You know, this is the mid 80s, you know, and then to be able to sit back and just say thank you to them because they truly don't understand what they did as far as my life goes and actually doing what they felt was the right thing for this kid that was just probably shouldn't have been in that situation, and they changed that. And like I said, that's probably something else that I'd say is just tell the truth. And when you're open and honest, and I think we talked about that earlier in the show, when you tell the truth, it's going to go either way, and hopefully your character, they determine that if he's telling the truth, then it's a part of his character. And your character is probably one of the most important things, with me. And again, I got to go race and being black, the only thing I have is my integrity and my word, and I spend my life protecting that more than anything, because
Absolutely.
I know that is like, once I lose one or the other, I'm already behind the 8 ball because of my color. I got to walk in the door and I got to work a little bit harder than if you had to walk in the door. And that's, and it's not towards you, but I'm just saying
understand.
it's something totally different. So I'm always trying to protect that part of me.
Yeah.
And if you ever see me like angry about something, it's because somebody's trying to sit back and take my integrity or trying to take my word and trying to twist it to something that it's not. And that's probably the only thing that I think I could ever get upset about more than anything, is because that means that you really don't know me as a person.
Yeah.
And you didn't take time to get to know me as a person, and you're adding maybe a situation that you had with somebody else that may have been black or whatever, and you automatically assume that I was going to be the exact same way, so that is probably the biggest thing that I could sit back and say, is that, just tell the truth. Because again, 17-year-old kid in the projects, I should have went to jail. I know I should have went to jail, and who knows, where I'd have been.
Yeah,
I had a hard time getting a job.
Changed.
I don't know. It could have been a lot of things. They probably could have gave me time, and I could have been locked up and got into the system or whatever. But it's one of those things. I say I'm blessed because it never happened to me. But my mom always said, just tell the truth. That's all you got to do. If you just tell the truth, then it'll get you. Either gonna get you out of a situation, or they're gonna make their own opinion about you anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. Well, it's time we wrap this up. AJ, my brother, thank you, man.
Yes, man. I love you, man.
I had a great time. Love you too, man. Had a great time. Hope you'll come back and join us again sometime. And I hope you all enjoyed the show. We're going to be back with another episode for you guys next week. And until next time, we'll see you. Peace.
Peace.